Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Greg Olson, and I'm the director of the New York State Office for Aging. I'm really pleased to be joined today by Justin McCabe and Dan Lyon from Lifespan of Greater Rochester, who both individuals are retired law enforcement, but work extensively throughout New York State to educate folks on how to not become victims of financial exploitation and scams. This is near and dear to my heart as a topic. It's, in all the forms of elder abuse, all of them are devastating in their own ways. But the fastest growing financial abuse in elder abuse is financial exploitation and abuse. So the topic today is about scams, but we're going to go a little bit deeper in that and provide you with some tips. You have no idea how sophisticated the individuals and networks are that are able to identify many, many things about you just from the way that we live today with technology. And this is not small operations. This is big business, and they're making tens of millions of dollars on your behalf and on your back by misleading you. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But let's talk about what we know first. We know that there are 4.6 million people over the age of 60 in New York State, with another 3.7 million between 45 and 50 and 59 years old. That's almost half the state in New York. Anyone, whether you're older or young, can be a victim of a scammer. So this isn't just for older people. This is for really anybody. And as I mentioned, they're incredibly sophisticated. Information about you is incredibly easy to attain. And we'll walk through a little bit of that today. 64% of older New Yorkers in New York own their own homes with no mortgages, are sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars of home equity that could potentially be stolen from you. 83% of all the wealth held in the United States is held by people over the age of 50. In New York State, 65% of all the household income generated, which is about $481 billion a year, is held by those over the age of 45. Access to credit and assets is more readily available for older adults. And in New York alone, 80% of the state's retirement system, 10.6 billion, goes back into New York older adults' retirees' pockets. What happened during the pandemic? Increased isolation makes it more difficult to track, to find, and to mitigate. We have challenges with younger people's economic security, and with the wealth of their parents and grandparents or friends, uncles and aunts, could be problematic. An increase in drug and alcohol abuse coupled with the opioid epidemic makes riskier finances even more riskier. And finally, living arrangements with kids, with grandkids, with friends who may be going through difficult times. And individuals' fear of losing their own independence can also contribute to these, and much, much more. So if I know this, scammers know this as well, which is why older adults are targets. So let me formally introduce my two guests with me today. Justin McCabe is the coordinator of fraud, scams, and identity theft protection at Lifespan of Greater Rochester. He assists the program with activities related to education and training aimed at prevention of victimization of older adults who are targeted through scams and fraudulent schemes. The program serves an 11-county area in the Finger Lakes region, providing outreach to older adults and help for individuals who have been victimized. Justin comes to Lifespan following a career in law enforcement and private investigation, working as a patrol officer and an investigator with the New York State, conducting criminal investigations into fraud and identity theft. Justin, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us, Greg.
My pleasure. And we have Dan Lyon, who retired from the Road Patrol, Monroe County Sheriff's Office after serving nearly 24 years. He once served the community as a crime prevention deputy for the department for 8+ years and is currently employed at Lifespan for over a year as the fraud, scam, identity theft program manager, where he assists victims of these crimes and speaks at public engagements on prevention. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. You mentioned that Lifespan operates primarily in a certain county region, but you have a much vaster region than that. Tell us a little bit about what Lifespan does and what your work entails.
Lifespan is an organization. It's not for profit. We have one goal and one goal only. That is to help the older adult take it on. And that is a man or woman over age 60 and those with disabilities. Justin and I serve 12 counties for case management, but also serve the entire state of New York for anyone looking for a presentation on identity theft or scams and frauds. And on top of that, our organization helps the older adults. It could be from respite, it could be check writing, bill paying, it could be ombudsman. We have so many programs. We even have one that we have a person who goes out and modifies people's homes to ensure safety for them so they can stay to the very end in their own home as long as physically possible. We even become the powers of attorney for older adults, for families that wish to have a third party, someone who's not involved in the family, neutral, so to speak. So Lifespan is a wealth of information, a wealth of programs for older adults to continue happily and be safe in everyday life. We are just one of those cogs in the wheels.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Dan. So for folks who have been tuning into these Facebook Lives now for over 2 years, they're aware of our network. And so folks that are listening today, Lifespan is one of the major contractors of the Monroe County Office for Aging and many of the others in and about that area. But we've been partnering with you guys for decades on elder abuse prevention, the expansion of the enhanced multidisciplinary team models, trying to get, again, the word out on the work that you do in all aspects of elder abuse, including financial exploitation, partnerships with banks to help identify and potentially red flag. So let me start with a story of really a good outcome. And then we can talk about how to make sure that everybody is protected and the good outcomes come. So, it's real timely, but on Tuesday, I read a story out of Long Island that a retired 911 dispatcher received a call from somebody who was pretending to be their grandchild who got arrested for DUI and needed $8,000. A couple days later, somebody posing as the attorney for the grandchild called and wanted to set up a time to come and get the $8,000. Well, why is this a good story? The woman knew it was a scam immediately because the grandchild doesn't drive. So she filled an envelope with paper towels, called the sheriff's office, and it was all recorded on the door cam when the person came to take the money and was arrested immediately. That's a good outcome. And again, there's so many parts of this story that are easily checkable. Like you could hang up and call your grandkid. Why didn't the message come from the children of this individual? But there's a lot of different ways to do that. So, there's a ton of different scams out there. What are the types of things that you guys see fairly regularly?
Typical scams that we've been seeing as of late are tech scams, which are remote access to computers. Romance scams. The number one loss of money for our older adults is a romance type scam. And like you said earlier, Greg, with the isolation and the loneliness that we've had with this pandemic is fueling those romance type scams, along with lottery / grant or winning of some type of, you're gaining something. And if it sounds too good to be true, it is, the lottery type scam or you're a grant type scam. And of course, lately, the grandparent scam, which we've also had right here in Monroe County, Genesee County, and out in Livingston County not too long ago. Are typical scams that we see on a regular basis, not to mention check scams, which are pretty prevalent as well, as we took one in just today, myself.
Yes, so let's talk a little deeper about that. But you had mentioned specifically, Dan, that somebody that just came to you wound up in 2 different installments of getting fleeced about $30,000, which really matters to somebody on a fixed income. But Justin, you were telling me about, some home equity type scams. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. On average, our each victim is probably about $15,000, just at the low end, up to $100,000, $200,000. Many times the scammer will send them a check in the mail, the victim a check in the mail, and they'll cash it against the second mortgage. They also go as far as actually getting the victim to go to the bank and apply for a second mortgage. And it doesn't matter if you don't know how to do it, because the scammer knows. He'll walk you through every step, how to avoid the banking security protocols, how to avoid when they want you to buy a gift card, how to avoid the security protocols that the different pharmacies and such have to try and prevent scams. So they're really up on it. And like I said, the numbers are just astronomical, the amount people are losing.
Yeah, and I think what you guys provided, I know Kelly's going to put it in the chat, a variety of resources, how to not become victims of a scam. You guys have an amazing, booklet on identity theft, a guide to identity theft and protecting yourself. Let's walk through some of the things. And just again, going back to your point, Dan, you look at people who are, going to casinos and doing the lottery. They're usually low-income people because they want to better their lives. And what you said, I think, should really resonate with everybody. We're all smart enough to know if it's too good to be true, it is. And again, there's always ways that you can detach yourself and do some, basic follow-up to make sure that you're not a scam, or being scammed or proposed. What people hate, and there was a law passed years ago to prevent this, but it's still a problem, are these robocalls. How do you minimize robocalls?
Well, robocalls, we have a scam blocking apps that are found, law passed 2009. Justin did a nice job. He put together a resource sheet, which we make sure we'll provide afterwards, for all your cell phone providers that are required by New York State law to have that app added to their phone if they want it. And is it going to eliminate every single robocall? No, but if it will minimize the amount of calls coming in, to alert the owner of that phone that the call coming in is potentially a scam. So it may say scam potential, or maybe a scam, whatever the terminology is. Basically, it alerts the phone user that phone call that's coming in, they may not want to answer it. And we've told people over and over, basically, if they're not in your call list as someone let voicemail pick it up. Scammers aren't going to talk to your voicemail. They'll immediately hang up. You immediately know if you get a call, you don't recognize the number, and you let it go to voicemail and there's no message, it was a scam call all day long.
Right. And so again, that's a no budget, high yield response. I get those all the time, especially about my car warranty, which I don't have. And they will leave a voice message, but I'm with you. If I don't recognize a number, I just don't pick it up. And if it's somebody that needs to talk to me, they'll leave me a message. So that's about as easy as it gets, right?
Easy.
If you don't recognize a number, don't pick up the phone. Let's talk about what forms of payment type scams really are red flags and what people should look for.
Ooh, I'll let Justin start.
Sure. So usually the scammers, they have to launder money. So the big payment methods we see is Bitcoin, wiring of money, cash in the mail. And when I tell you cash in the mail, we have some people have sent out $20,000, $30,000 in a box in the mail to the scammer. And then gift cards. Gift cards are the biggest one. No legitimate company, no government agency is taking a gift card as a payment method in any way. So right off the bat, the second you hear someone saying they want you to pay them in Bitcoin, they want you to have you buy gift cards or send cash in the mail, right off the bat, big red flag should be going up. Usually what they'll do is they'll have you go to, when it's for a gift card, they'll have you go to several different stores, because usually the employees are trained to warn someone, if someone comes in, buys large amounts of gift cards, it's most likely a scam. So the scammers know that. So they'll have you go to several different stores and buy denominations of $500 to $1,000 each time. But the biggest ones are the cash in the mail, the Bitcoin, wiring of money, and gift cards.
Hey, Greg, I want to chime in real quick. These scammers are such good professionals at their craft. They will ensure they tell the person that they are trying to go out buy gift cards, keep it a secret. This is only between you and me. That they'll always say, "Hey, let's keep this under wraps. We don't want this to get out. This is only available to you, or we don't want any other family members involved, or we don't want friends involved. This is an opportunity for you." Or, we're going to keep this hush hush. The minute you hear that, again, red flag, like Justin said, those forms of payment are never valid. And the minute you hear, let's keep it secret or hush hush or only available to you, again, if it sounds too good to be true, it is.
Yeah. So one of the, in the budget and certainly during the pandemic, technology really exploded in terms of how you deliver programs, services, how to interconnect people. I think the common myth is older people don't use technology. It's patently false. not to the same extent that younger people do, but there's a huge effort in New York State, both within our agency, our network, folks like you guys, to provide tools and technical assistance and training so that people can remain connected. And of course, there's $1 billion in the proposed executive budget to expand access to broadband, to Wi-Fi, to technology, to training. So to increase, the digital divide for everybody. It was a couple of years ago, and I won't mention who it was in my family, but we had a tech support scam where something came through, said there was a problem, and start to click this, click this button, and we'll help solve the problem. Where then they were able to take over the computer. Luckily, I was able to undo it quick enough and reset the entire computer back to factory settings. But talk to me about tech scams, what you see, and what you don't click. You don't click links.
You never click within a link sent to you. And we always like to tell people, be the referee. Don't be afraid to make the call, whether it be an email or a voicemail or a text message with a link within it. No, if someone's telling you you need you have a problem, and click within this link. The minute you click within that link, unfortunately, it's not going to touch base with Microsoft. You're not going to be getting in touch with a computer software company that wants to solve your problem, because no computer software company reached out to. I'll let Justin explain a little further in regards to the tech support. He does a really nice job on this.
So the tech support scams, they're huge. There's usually primarily two methods that they come in as. It's either a pop-up that comes from an email that says a virus found, or a company, someone calls you and says, "Hi, this is Justin McCabe. I'm from Microsoft. We've seen some fraudulent activity on your computer. I need remote access to fix the problem." These tech support companies are not calling you. Legitimate tech support companies are never going to call you, and they're not monitoring your computer. They don't look for viruses on your computer, and they don't need remote access. We usually tell people not to give remote access, especially when anyone is soliciting you for it. If you have, there are uses of remote access, but when someone's calling you on the phone, like Dan said, we always tell people to always call back. So if I call and I say I'm from Chase Bank and we've seen some fraudulent activity, hang up the phone, look up Chase's number, call them back. By doing this, you knock out the whole imaginary scheme that's coming over, because you can actually call back. And usually if someone from Chase Bank is trying to get a hold of you, they can pull your account up and they'll see that, a customer service representative attempted to call. But the tech support scams are big. Once they get remote access to your machine, they'll turn your cameras on. So they're looking at you. They'll get very, very threatening. They'll lock your computer so that it becomes a brick unless you pay them the money that they want. Once they have remote access, it's like giving the keys to your house to someone. Once they're in, they won't get out very quickly.
And my most recent victim lost, she had 3 credit cards she had on her computer that she unfortunately gave remote access to. And literally all 3 credit cards were maxed out within 40 minutes.
Yeah. So
it does not take long. And she thought, they were fixing her computer. And while they were supposedly fixing her computer, what they're really doing was maxing out her credit cards. And all they were doing was doing DOS prompts on her computer to make it look like they were doing something. At one point, they even told her, your computer screen may go black for a short period of time while we work in the background. Oh, they were working all right. They were taking money out of our accounts and moving it to their own accounts.
Yeah, and how important a couple of the points you made. I know, like on reputable companies like Apple and Google, if you're trying to access an account or somebody else's, you'll usually get a text message or an email with a code. That's yours only, and that's a safety code that they're either going to block somebody if that wasn't you that's authorizing it. But a couple other points that you made, both in the beginning and then part of this segment, which is how sophisticated these folks are. So there's emails or texts that look like they came from your bank or from Social Security that might just have a link in it. You never click those links. We've seen scams come from what looked like an emergency operations center, a particular county, that mimic that exactly, that had a link in it. There was a scam that had my name on it that was found in Florida. And once the woman looked up my name and saw that I was with the Office for the Aging, she thought it was legit. Click the link. But to your point, Justin, you never do those types of things. It takes 5 or 10 minutes. to delete that, make a phone call, double check. 10 minutes of your time to save you what you guys are saying are anywhere between 15 to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then, you know, on the credit card issue, that wrecks your credit. There's a whole bunch of other things that can happen to try to, you know, salvage what potentially somebody else has done to you.
6 months to recover someone's identity once stolen, and 6 months to fix the damage of a remote access. It takes a period of time, and unfortunately, it's also very, Justin and I both see this, very stressful. It's stressful for me. I'm a younger guy. I couldn't imagine my 88-year-old grandmother being taxed with this. And that's all she'll worry about, you know, for many, many evenings to come. And, you know, that stress is something that our older adults don't need. No one needs that.
Yeah. Now, Dan, you know, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here a bit, but it's relevant because you guys were both talking prior to going live today. You know, we're talking about Facebook and how easy it is. Like everything, if you're doing anything online, you're tracked. And people need to be aware of that. But you really talked about, okay, well, I'm not on Facebook, but my grandkid is. Go through that again.
You know, when we're out doing presentations and all the time, and we tell people, hey, that information, you got information out there on the information highway, because they're like, we're talking about grandparent scams. We're like, well, when you get the phone call, and I pick someone in the audience, I say, they're going to use your first name and or last name, and they're actually going to use your grandchild's first name and say, you know, Grandma Jones, this is Billy. I'm in trouble. I've been arrested. And we tell the audience, the reason they have that information is you're not on Facebook, but Billy, the grandchild, is. And as a matter of fact, Billy, the grandchild, took a picture with you, Grandpa Jones, just 3 months ago on your 90th birthday, and posted a picture of me and Grandpa Jones, you know, arm in arm at the birthday party, blowing out birthday candles. Well, now guess what we got? We got your picture. We know exactly that you're an older adult. We have your last name, Jones, and we have the grandchild's first name, Billy. Boy, I don't need too much more to make a phone call on a grandparent scam now.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the moral of the story isn't you have to live in fear, but you have to be aware that this is the reality that's out there, and you're a target, and ways to protect yourself so that you're not. You guys mentioned a little bit earlier the romance scam. So, you know, tell me a little bit more about that.
Justin, I'll let you.
So the romance scams, they lead the losses in the United States. They're one of the most insidious types of scams. Basically, these are is someone tries to develop a relationship to you. So the hook is they're trying to build that trust with you. So Words with Friends, for example, the online crossword puzzle is a huge place for romance scammers. And we'll have, you know, we had one victim where the person reached out and said, hi, I see you like crosswords. I like crosswords too. Starts up a conversation. Slowly it becomes a friendship. And then all of a sudden, the scammers usually won't ask for money right away. It takes a good month where they're talking to you all the time. They want to know everything about you. They really become like a shoulder to in a close relationship with them. And then slowly they'll start to say things like, I'd love to come see you. I just can't afford it. Well, maybe you've been, you know, you've spent a month talking to someone. You've developed some feelings. And then what they'll do is they'll just start exploiting that. They have a child in the hospital. I need some money. I would love to come see you. Oh, I'll pay for a plane ticket. Okay. They're never going to come though. And it just becomes more and more. And eventually they start using you as what's called a money mule. And there's been a big push with the federal law enforcement agencies to go after these money mules situations. And basically what that is I'm a scammer. I have 5 different victims and I need to hide that money. So what I do is I take one victim and I say, okay, you're going to be my agent. And I have the other victims send them the money and then they send it to me, or they maybe exchange it into Bitcoin. And then I take the money from there. And it basically starts making the scam victim be part of the crime now, and use it to just further hide the money. But yeah, they're very hard to deal with. The best thing we tell people with this is, you know, if you've never met a person face to face, not giving them personal information, be very cautious when people are soliciting you, especially online, especially through social media locations. And usually they're going to, if you could pick your perfect person, that's who they're going to emulate. It's going to be that person. And a lot of people, they target widows and widowers, especially in our older adult community, especially people who are lonely with this pandemic. They've gone really after those groups.
And it seems like they watch the obituaries to a certain degree. I hate to say it, but it seems like a lot of the victims that we've had, if they've been whittled late as of late, they're the ones being targeted, it seems like. But like Justice said, it takes time. These people are going to be groomed, much like predators of children. They're going to be groomed for a period of time, months, it could be, before they even begin to remotely ask for money, where this person feels they are totally connected to this person. Why? Because they're being phone called every day, text messaged every day. One of my victims in Livingston County called every single day, almost to the, and knew exactly what time that those phone calls were coming in. And of course, money was eventually sent, and eventually, the loss was upwards over 6 figures.
Yeah, and to your point, I think, again, whether it's newly widowed or people are lonely, they're isolated, it's an opportunity, again, because folks know what they're doing, to really capitalize on that. What is the shipping scam, and how do you not get hooked on that?
Typically, those are the types of scams where you're getting some type of text message or an email. It's because you've ordered something, or back it was really popular during the holidays because everyone was ordering online instead of out in person at stores per se. So people weren't necessarily paying attention to all the different shipping methods that their packages were coming in. And they would get a text message or an email saying, hey, we tried reaching you, tried to deliver a package. It was undeliverable. Please click here and update your info so we can get that package delivered to you. Well, the minute you click on that link, it's asking for personal information in order to supposedly get a package delivered to you. What you're actually uploading is your personal information to a scam artist. So we tell people, if you are in fact shopping online, pay attention, because that proprietor that you're buying from is going to tell you who your shipper is going to be. UPS, DHL, the United States Postal Service, FedEx, and they give you tracking numbers. Make sure you only utilize those tracking numbers and or those links that are provided to you from the proprietor that you just bought the product from. Don't just randomly click links thinking oh, this is something I ordered, because what's going to happen is you're going to be giving your information to a scam artist.
Right. So 2 key takeaways. Don't answer the phone if you don't know. Don't click on any of these links that come. Easily to check out, and people will leave a message if they really want to get to you. What is a verbal code, and why should you not provide verbal codes over the phone?
Justin.
Well, you had mentioned it earlier, Greg, where a lot of times companies will send you a code to verify that they're actually contacting you. What these scammers have done is they found ways around that. So what they'll do, for instance, is the company sends you the code, and they'll call you, act like they're from the company, and try and get you to give them the code over the phone. So then they can subvert the security measures of the banks and the different tech companies. So we usually tell people, if you get a code through your phone and you're logging in somewhere, you can type it in, but never give it out over the phone, because that circumvents the security measures of the applications and the companies.
And the Google Voice is also being utilized for that. And with the Google Voice scams, this is when people are soliciting online, trying to sell an item, maybe something on Craigslist or Marketplace, Facebook, and or someone whom has lost a pet or is trying to find something of value that was lost in the community. And next thing they know, hey, someone has reached out to me saying, hey, I'm interested in buying that product you're selling on Craigslist, but I'm fearful of scams. I'm going to send you a code. Can you reply with the code? Using Google Voice, and what they're doing, the scam artists are actually doing is they're actually setting up an account now, utilizing your information, utilizing your phone number, because you provided them the code that was just sent to them.
Yeah, I mean, this is incredibly detailed and sophisticated, and I want to make sure that people, what we always try to do with these sessions is not only get information out there that people really need to know, but to provide resources. And you guys have done that. I know Kelly put in the line how you stop robocalls, that sheet. We have the scam resource sheet, which is pretty extensive. We have the other identity theft guide that you guys put together as well, in addition to some pamphlets that you guys put out from your organization. So you're a private not-for-profit. Both of you have law enforcement backgrounds. You work with, though, the police, sheriffs, state police, district attorneys, the court system. Any interaction with the federal government? Do any of those agencies call you guys?
They don't call us, but we call upon them. If we gave out no other website today that people use, please, folks, ftc.gov, one-stop shop, FTC, Federal Trade Commission.gov. Great website. You can log right in through their homepage, and you can register right on their homepage. There's an easy, quick little link for the do not call registry. It's simple, it's fast, and it's effective. There's many other great websites. FBI.gov is another phenomenal website. Both these websites, these federal. Yeah, go ahead, Justin.
No, I'm sorry, Dan. Yeah, the Department of Justice is another one. Right in there, they have a huge wealth of information and education on scams. Is, like Dan said, the FTC, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, another great resource for scam prevention. The FTC is the primary federal agency that's goes after most of the scams and does the education. So they just got a huge wealth of information. And identitytheft.gov, which is under the FTC, as you can report identity theft right there anytime that you do become, if you do become a victim.
Yeah. So
and if you log into the,
go ahead.
The FTC.gov, if you log into them and solicit them, you want to subscribe to them, you literally will get emails from the Federal Trade Commission alerting you to the newest and up-to-date scams on a regular basis. I mean, right to your your email at home. It's great resource.
And that's really important. I'm sure Kelly's way ahead of me, has already probably put that in the link. The FBI scam website has the top 10 scams at the time, which is constantly evolving. You mentioned some of those other resources we'll put in. We also did a Facebook Live with the SEC, Security and Exchange Commission, on investor fraud. So, if the main place to go is FTC, there's some others as well, but start there for sure. And I love the alerts where, again, it's amazing what people think of next. And that's the point, is it's always evolving and always changing. And so what was, the main scam 5 years ago is long gone. It's so sophisticated and evolved so much. Talk about credit reports, because there's multiple credit agencies that you can get a free credit report on. Can you talk about that a bit?
Well, there's 3 credit agencies: TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, and everybody in the United States are eligible to get a free credit report. And you can do so very easily. You can do it online at annualcreditreport.com. Annualcreditreport.com. Easy to log in. You'll need your, obviously you'll need your name and your social security number. And I always tell people, choose only one of the 3 credit bureaus. You do not need a credit report from all 3 at the exact same time. That is not beneficial to you. You only need one. And I tell people that because back only a few short years ago, each agency was only allowing 1 per year. This would allow you 1 free credit report from each agency over a year. And you could do that simply. If I got one today from Experian, I wait 4 months, get another one from TransUnion, wait another 4 months, and get one from Equifax. This way I basically cover the entire year free of charge. And take the time and review it. Don't just pull it. Take the time and actually sit down and look through it carefully and ensure there's nothing on there amiss. Everything in there should be that you recognize.
Yeah, and I like that staggered approach. I do the same thing. Now, I did purchase LifeLock, so they automatically send me 3 different times a year, 1 report from each of those credit agencies. So I think that is really good advice, that you have access to that once every 4 months for free, and not to burn them all in the same month, because that's not really relevant for you. Let's get to one of the most important parts of today. So we walk through a whole variety of scams, some real easy how not to get caught here. by not clicking links, by not answering the phone, not giving personal information, not giving codes, never giving your social security number. Government agencies will never ask for that information in order to get benefit. If I did none of those things and I wound up being a victim of a scam, what do I do? Who do I call?
Justin.
So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to call 911 and report it to your local police department. You need some type of documentation. You can also file a report, identity theft affidavit with the FTC at identitytheft.gov. You're going to take those two documents. You're also going to call your bank, let them know, but you take those two documents and you send them out to all your financial institutions, everybody you have a financial relationship with. You have two options with your credit. You could put a freeze or a fraud alert on. Usually we tell people if you've been a victim of identity theft, put a freeze on for a while. What this is going to do is lock down your credit. You can turn it on and turn it off, but temporarily lock it down. If the criminals are going to use your information, it's going to be pretty quick from the time they get it to when they use it, because they know it expires pretty quickly once people realize that it's their information's been compromised. And then contacting any of those companies. You can also call Lifespan if you're in one of our local 12 regions, upstate New York here. We work one-on-one doing case management with victims of fraud and scams, and we'll help you go through and get your identity locked up and get everything back to where you're feeling comfortable. We can also help with the Office of Victim Services has funds that we can apply for as well.
So we talked a lot about external scams and frauds, right? I've heard multiple stories over the years of individuals who knew they were being scammed, but because they got to talk to somebody, they gave their money away more or less freely because they were lonely, which is heartbreaking. But you guys also work, and why I wanted you to explain what it was you did at the outset is a lot of financial abuse and exploitation happens within the family, the immediate family, again, grandkids, children, people that have a variety of issues. And you are able to provide a bunch of wraparound services to assist those. But I think one of the fears that people have not only is, they don't want to report that a son or a daughter have been stealing their money or a grandkid, or they think that if they do, that it's going to impact them being able to live in their home and maybe placed in a nursing home. What kind of assurance or what would you recommend for somebody like that who might have some of those fears where this is happening within the immediate family?
Our EMDTs up here are certainly that support blanket to help that older adult go through the system. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a little time consuming, and it's going to be quite scary and stressful. But our EMDT teams up here, that's what they do day in, day out. They work and collaborate with every single agency that will be involved with that type of a criminal investigation to ensure for the victim that every step will be taken to ensure that their welfare is, of course, the utmost importance to be safe. Their financial stability will be taken into great consideration to ensure it's stable and taken care of. And of course, the simplest thing is to ensure, the bottom line is they're safe and feel safe. It's important. It's one thing to be safe. It's another thing to make sure they feel safe in their environment that they're living within. Realizing the perpetrator may, in fact, live just 2 doors down in the same house. So our EMDT teams are phenomenal at that process and help walk that person hand in hand, step by step through that entire process. It won't be easy. It won't be fun or enjoyable. But if at the end it means that their funds are going to be there for them when they need it the most, which is what they save for all their lives, that's why they need to make the phone call. And that phone call may, in fact, start with a 911.
Yeah, and the EMDT, for those that are listening, is just simply, it's called an enhanced multidisciplinary team, which brings together people like Dan and Justin, case managers, adult protective service, could be housing, could be law enforcement, well, it is, and many other community resources to really try to help people holistically. So if housing is an issue, that can be referred. And because of our partnership, not only with our staff and Lifespan and the New York City Elder Abuse Coalition, we have EMDT throughout New York State now, the only state in the country that has done that. So I thank you for that partnership. But to let folks know that that is not unique anymore just to Monroe County. We started out in your area and then have expanded statewide. So I'm going to ask you guys an open-ended question, and you both can respond, or one of you. Anything that I didn't ask that you want to get across to folks, or any messages that we did talk about that you just really want to reinforce?
We were all brought up in the day and age, answer the phone, be polite, be courteous, don't be rude on the phone, and don't hang up. The rules have changed, unfortunately. Greg, since our children and my parents were taught by my grandparents, we need to teach people it's okay to hang up. It's okay to be rude, and it's okay not to be nice to someone, because the bottom line is they're looking to take your money. And if they can convince you over the phone to do something, to give them, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, Bitcoin, and crypto, hanging up the phone will keep a lot of money in your bank accounts, because that's all they're looking for. And, and to be the referee. Justin and I, we preach that. Be the referee. Do not rely upon text messages, phone calls, and emails that the email is in fact from your bank, or the text message or phone call is coming from your bank. Spoofing and phishing is huge. And these scam artists are professionals at their craft. They will spoof your bank phone number. They will spoof your bank email. They will spoof their website. It'll make it look like your bank. It's not. Hang up, disconnect, delete the email, delete the text message. Don't answer the phone. Then yourself make the call. Be the referee on the field with a black and white uniform. You do the homework. It takes you 2 seconds to look up a phone number and make the call yourself.
Great advice. Yeah, and a couple things. And Justin, I wasn't sure if you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Greg, the fact that people know that these schemes are out here, and just because someone calls you and says they're from a certain agency or from a certain company does not mean it's true. Like Dan said, just calling back and just the education. One of the biggest pushes I know from the federal government as well is just education on these scams. The fact that these schemes are out there, they've just taken a whole new approach where now they're integrating technology into it. So it looks a little different, but it's the same 3-card Monte type schemes that used to be back in the 20s. It's just got a different face to it now.
Yeah, and I think, from our perspective, having you guys back several times over the course of the year, I think is really important. People didn't work their entire lives to have their, what little or much resource they have taken at the end. And, something that you had said, Dan, that I think is really important. We may be in 2022, but if you're working with a 70 or 80-year-old person, they were born in the 30s, it was not uncommon for people to go door to door. That's where the moniker of a door-to-door salesman go. We've seen scams on roofs, right? People drive by, they knock on the door, they say, oh, you need a new roof, we need a $5,000 down payment, or your driveway. Those things, you just, again, take a breath. You can always get back to somebody. You do not have to get on the hook or be pressured right on the spot. And then the final thing is around garbage. Throwing statements and personal information away in your garbage. It's not uncommon for people to go through garbage. So if you don't have a fireplace to burn it, or a shredder, or something to mark it off, you just have to be very clear that simply throwing something away in your garbage is far from protecting you. In fact, that is an open invitation for getting all of your information and having no idea what happened until it's too late.
And we purport to people all the time, buy a shredder, a cross shredder, because you can, and spend the extra few dollars on the cross shredder, because almost I don't know anyone that doesn't have at least one ATM card or a debit card in their possession. Well, those get outdated and get replaced. You don't want to just cut those up with scissors. It's a lot easier to put them through a cross shredder.
Yeah, that's great advice. I'm a burner. I have a fireplace, so everything comes in, gets burnt. Anyway, Justin, Dan, I cannot thank you enough, and just want to congratulate you on the amazing work that you do. It's extraordinarily difficult. We're so grateful to have, individuals like the two of you, but this network of real caring people out there. And so for folks that are either watching live or will be watching in the next couple of weeks, share this with your friends, share this with your family. We focus today on older adults for a variety of reasons. This is not at all unique to older people. There are a lot of people hurting out there in a variety of different ways. And again, some of the things that we're talking about, if it sounds too good to be true, we've been told this for decades. It is. It's easy to check. Don't click a link. Don't give your personal information. These are the easiest things to do. And then check out those resources that we have posted. So again, want to thank you guys both for joining me today. We'll be sure to have you back. As always, want to thank Kelly Matija and Alex Hyatt from my communications team for somehow making these always run flawlessly with the technology. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks with a good friend of mine, Dr. Eric Kingston from Syracuse University, who is one of the premier experts in Social Security, to talk about, what it is now and where it's going. I think, we sometimes lose sight of some of these really, really important economic programs, not only for retirement, but for people who have lost a spouse or need assistance because they're on a disability. So thank you so much for joining. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.